Female representation in Turkey's parliament rose to 98 deputies out of a total of 550 in last Sunday's general election, taking the proportion of female deputies to a historic high of 18%, a 4% increase from the 2011 election. All of the parties expanded their number of female deputies at the polls on June 7. The main opposition Republican People's Party, CHP, which received 25% of the valid vote, now has 20 women among its 132 deputies, comprising a 15% share. This figure rose slightly from 19 out of 135, 14%, from the 2011 election. The Justice and Development Party, AK Party, managed to secure parliamentary seats for 41 female deputies, down from 45 in 2011, amounting to a change from 16% to 14% of its representatives. The Nationalist Movement Party, MHP, now has one more female deputy in parliament, rising from 3 of its 53 female deputies in 2011 to 4 out of 80 after Sunday's polls. But the MHP gained 27 more parliamentary seats and only one additional female deputy, Arzu Erdem, represents a big reduction in the percentage of its female deputies. The People's Democratic Party, HDP, saw the greatest change. The HDP went into the election with a 50% quota for female candidates and a 10% quota for lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender, LGBT, candidates. In a bid to encourage more female representation, the party charges women half the candidate fee they charge men. This plan yielded the desired effect. 268 of the HDP's 550 candidates were female, which translated to 39%, of its 80 deputies elected at the ballot box. Demirtas, more female HDP deputy candidates than in other three parties combined. Announcing the HDP's candidate list in April, HDP CO Chair Selahattin Demirtas said his party had produced the fairest candidate list, focusing on multiculturalism, pluralism, and multilingualism in its potential candidates. We chose candidates who can help us pass the 10% election threshold, he said. Demirtas pointed to the ratio of female candidates chosen by his party, saying, "We were careful to adhere to the 50% gender quota. The number of female candidates on our list is more than the number of female candidates from the other three parties combined." The HDP campaigned on left-wing issues, for example, pledging to raise the minimum wage permitted by law and enhancing access to university education, and promising to create a new ministry specifically to deal with female gender-specific issues and to make International Women's Day a national occasion. Among the pro-Kurdish HDP deputies, Dilek Öcalan, 28, was chosen in Anlurfa, in Turkey's south, close to the Syrian border. That outcome is an illustration of how the HDP cut into the vote of the ruling AK party in Kurdish districts. In 2011, the AK party won 10 of the total of 12 seats in Anlurfa. This year it won only 7, with the HDP grabbing the other 5. Alongside Öcalan, another of the party's female deputies is Leyla Zana, a Kurdish lawmaker who was imprisoned for 10 years after she was found to be against the solidarity of the nation due to her political activism. In 1991, Zana became the first Kurdish female to win a seat in parliament and encouraged debate by speaking in Kurdish at her swearing-in ceremony. At the time it was illegal to communicate in Kurdish in public places, and until that year it had been illegal even to teach in Kurdish in private. The CHP Safak Pave, who held her seat in Istanbul, is another striking election winner. Before beginning a career in politics, Pave worked as a newspaper columnist and for the United Nations. She lost her left arm and left leg in a train accident in Switzerland when she was 20 and became the first physically impaired woman to be elected to parliament in 2011. In 1934, Turkey became the first European country to give women the right to vote. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the founder of the Turkish Republic, carried out legislative reforms to expand political representation for women, and he did so years before many other Western countries such as France, which only allowed women the right to vote a decade later. However, the progression of female representation in politics has only seen slow growth over the last 7 decades in Turkey. A total of 18 women won seats in 1935, their first chance to run for parliament. Up until the mid-1940s, women held somewhere around 4 and 5% of the seats in parliament. After that, female representation fell to 1 to 2%, until the effects of Prime Minister Turgut Özal's fiscal policies of the 1980s were felt. The development of a new middle class helped to expand female representation in parliament to 4% in the 1990s. In the past decade, there has been an incremental trend towards greater female empowerment in parliament. While the representation rate of women in 2002 was still only 4.4%, that number rose to 9.1%, 78 female parliamentarians after the 2007 election and 14% after the 2011 election. Now, in 2015, female representation in parliament has made another leap forward to 18%.